Shout out to the Street Wolves. Thank y'all for listening, man. We're gonna talk about something very serious, something that's been bothering me these last few days, man. But before we get to that, we have 2 people in the building. Feel free, either one of y'all, to introduce yourselves.
I just want to let people know before we get into the podcast, we're gonna joke about something. Listen past that because we address serious topics. So that's what I'm just saying. If anything, if you don't like the joke section, just fast forward a little bit till we get to the serious. It's AJ Dunk. Laughter's always in style. AJDunk.com.
I'm Isabel. I'm here.
And you can say it with your chest. They can hear you more. Say it, project.
I'm Isabel.
There you go.
That's about it.
All right. So I have a job where I work with children in a group home, a job where I can get paid steadily because you guys are not supporting to the ability that I need you to yet. So today I was at work. One of the kids, because I work with children, and one of the kids was like, his pants were sagging, and I was like, come on, man, pull your pants up. Nobody want to see your boxers. Nobody want to see that. So then another one of the kids was like, oh, what? He probably got on a thong. I was like, nah, he got on grandma panties. And then he started laughing. He looked at me and he was like, oh, you want to joke me? Now I'm going to joke you until you cry. And I was like, oh, please don't do that. Please. Like, all sarcastic. Like, so then a couple moments later, I went to the water park with them about a week ago. And he was like, yo, remember when you didn't want to get on the rides because you were like, oh, I'm on my period. I don't want the sharks to come and get me. You remember that? But to his knowledge, there ain't no sharks in no water park. All right? That's what I told him. I didn't even tell him that I don't have a period. I just told him there ain't no sharks.
So you left out the part about your period.
Exactly.
We don't need to touch the part about your period.
Right? 'Cause I must have been pregnant for a long time because my period hasn't come for a long time. But it was funny. I laughed when he said it. It was funny because it's not like he didn't wait a long time. Like when he said, "I'm gonna make you cry," it was like maybe like the hook of a song.
Did you cry?
I cried laughing because I thought it was funny. I was like,
for those of you who aren't aware, scientifically, that's not a thing. So you had a couple,
and that's coming from a woman,
yep.
So I have to take that as a fact.
Yep. So.
Because I always wonder why women at a certain time of the month get attacked by sharks.
Babe, don't go in the water. It's that time of month.
It sounds like I'm saying. Listen.
No.
I'm just gonna say that if I had a daughter, or my little sister, or a little cousin, or something like that, and I knew that I was aware, and I knew it was shark season, we're just not gonna go to the beach. We're gonna go to the pool.
Skip it all together.
We gonna put the sprinkler in the yard, and you can run through the sprinkler, run back and forth, get a kiddie pool, whatever. Dude, have your fun.
Not
hey,
real.
buddy.
Not real.
You wanna know something that's real funny along these same lines is I tell my son, since he was born, my oldest, he's always been heavy into sharks and dinosaurs and stuff, but he loves sharks. So we were watching Shark Week, and he was like, "Oh, Dad, these people are always getting bit by sharks." So me jokingly, people, I said, "Well, you see, those are white people getting bit by sharks, right? Because Puerto Ricans, we don't get in the water when there's sharks. You know why, right?" He said, "No, Daddy, why?" And I said, "Because we taste like sofrito." So that means the sharks are gonna kill us. And my son found it funny. Still to this day, he finds it funny. We see a shark attack somebody, and he'll look at me and goes, "We're not getting in the water, right, Daddy? But we taste like sofrito." Anybody who don't know what they scientifically they say the reason why the sharks attack is because sometimes we look like seals. That's why they bite you. Certain sharks will bite you and then let you go, but their bite clearly it take a limb off and kill your ass. So that was the joke with me and my son. Like, listen, we don't get our arms bit off our legs. They eat us because we taste like sofrito.
They bite them.
You lucky he didn't say what do white people taste like. What would you have said done?
No comment.
Yeah. Oh, why? Why? Because Izzy's right here. Why?
That'll open a whole other door. I'm leaving that one alone.
So that's why.
Because I only know what white women taste like. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's it right there.
Oh my god.
That's
It
it.
is white women better. I've seen The Shallows.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's how you say it.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna discuss the whole situation that happened with Brock Turner. If you're not familiar with it, well, just listen through the podcast. We're gonna put some details out. We definitely gonna state our opinions. I purposely wanted us to have Izzy here because I wanted a female perspective on it, and she's white, and I'm Puerto Rican, and AJ's black. So I wanted it to be from a standpoint where couldn't anybody say anything that's being said was just projecting it just like a race way as far as we're concerned.
True.
So I wanted it to be like that. So we talking about Brock Turner. If anyone isn't familiar with what's going on, he used to be a swimmer for Stanford, which is like one of them Ivy schools.
Was it Stanford or Syracuse?
Nah, Stanford.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Syracuse.
My bad.
What the fuck?
Oh, sorry. Didn't know somebody in this room was alumni of either one of those.
Nah, man, you know what I'm saying? I got
It is
street
kinda
rules
key
and
that
all
it's
of
an Ivy.
those.
It's kind of key.
Yeah, and I got street rules and all of those. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All this,
Nah, man,
I apologize to all the street wolves.
So all this is taking place out in Santa Clara, California. This whole case was back in 2015, actually. Yeah, but if you know anything, especially if you're a street wolf, you know how these court situations, these trials can last. Sometimes it might take you 5 years to 6 years to actually go to trial on a case. It all depends on the situations in the case, your lawyers, how prepared you are, things of that nature. Some states have guidelines on like a time frame it has to happen. New York is not one of them, to my knowledge. I know dudes who I was locked up with who was in there 6 years and haven't got a shot at trial yet. Some of it's done on purpose. Sometimes the lawyers need time to prepare X, Y, and Z. So the whole controversy about all of this is that he was convicted of sexual assault, but he was actually charged initially with 5 different counts of 2 were rape, 1 was attempt rape, and the other 2 was just sexual assault. The dude ended up he was sentenced to just 6 months for a crime that he was convicted of. All right, so just know that that's really what is the basis of this whole conversation. This dude was sentenced to 6 months for this crime and was out in 3 months. How? I have no fucking idea. But of course there's more details to the situation, so I guess we'll get into it. I have a few notes here, so there's gonna be a few times I'm reading straight off here because I want to give y'all the facts and I don't want to just act like I know what I'm talking about. Like, no, it's right here, so I'm gonna read it. Not everything, but just pieces of it. So his full name is actually Brock Allen Turner. That way we don't get it twisted. It's not Brock Turner from up the block or any of that shit. This is Brock Allen Turner from motherfucking Santa Clara, California. Alright, he went to Stanford University. At the time, he sexually assaulted a 22-year-old female. When this whole situation happened, he was behind a dumpster with a girl who was unconscious. There was 2 guys biking by, and they saw him. I guess they were, I don't want to say being nosy because what they did was the right thing, but technically they were being nosy. Checking in to see what was going on, and according to them, they say he had his fingers in her and he was getting ready to actually penetrate her at that particular time, and they took him off of her. Brock turned around and ran, and they chased him down. They ended up catching him I don't know if it was like a block or 2 down, and they held him there till the cops came. So this isn't a case of mistaken identity. We good on that, right? We all gonna agree on that, right? Like, nah, like this is who it is.
Don't even me.
I don't know what you're gonna say. You looked like you were considering it.
Yeah, yeah, because I think he was gonna do his little devil's advocate.
No, I'm not doing devil's.
Yeah,
I'm not doing devil's advocate. But if you want me to address some things now, I can. You want me to wait?
I can't imagine what you're gonna say.
Go ahead.
All right, there's like one of the big things that I thought about while reading this. There was 2 things. At first, it was I want to blame people that are crying rape but are not really getting raped, because all of the things that you have to prove in order for it to be justified as it happening is crazy. Like,
I see what you're saying.
The amount of work they have to go through to prove that it's real is ridiculous. So these people that are out here just crying rape when it's nothing like that at all, fuck you, because that's bullshit, yo. Because you're not seeing the repercussions that other people have to deal with. Another thing that I thought about was, I know that there was money involved in this whole situation. Because if you get it dropped from 12 years to 3 months, that's a lot of money.
You know the judge went to Stanford, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's way more details to all of this. There's way more details to this shit.
Like, but even still, I read when he sent me the passage earlier, the judge got removed or something when they did the 6-month sentencing. So he still got out on 3.
No. The judge was never removed. They're petitioning right now for him to be.
I think something did happen. I don't know.
What he was removed from before was another case. Since then, he was put on as a judge for another sexual case after that, and everybody involved, the prosecutors and all that, said, nah, we don't want him at all. Like, not after what he just did. Like, come on, it don't even add up. So being that we talking about the judge, I just want to tell y'all, when after them guys held him and he was arrested for all of that, he was released that same day. His family put up the bail, which was $150,000 bail, right? Which I'm kind of shocked about. $150,000 bail, especially when we're talking about a rich family, right? And I'm not saying your even though judges do it, I don't feel like your bail should be set according to you or your family's finances. I don't. A lot of judges do that shit. They'll overprice your bail knowing your family can't pay for it. And it seems like the families who can pay for it don't pay fucking much. Mind you, and I'm speaking from experience, you have to go through bail bondsmen because your family can't afford that, or possibly you can't afford it, right? And depending on what your bail is, they could put a property bail on you. So what that'll mean is you have to pay X amount in cash, and then the rest have to have a property value. So someone you know has to put a home up, or sometimes 2 homes, depending on your case. Now, we're talking about that kind of stuff happening, or for guys who I knew who got caught with maybe an ounce of coke, something like that. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't get a punishment either, but when you're giving a $500,000 bail to someone on their first offense who got caught with an ounce of coke, but there's guys out in the world raping and touching kids and all kind of crazy shit, and some of them are getting $20,000 bails. I was in jail with a guy who was alleged to have touched on somebody, and he had a $15,000 bail. When you got like that don't even make sense to me, right?
So this was a high bail?
Oh, in this situation, hell no. $150,000 a bail for someone you're charging with rape and all these things? No. Especially when y'all went and was at the hospital with the girl and all that, which we're gonna get into all of that. $150,000 to someone you're well aware. Because what happens is, for anybody who doesn't know, before you go and see the actual judge, someone comes and talks to you. They ask you what kind of job you have, things of this nature. There's 2 reasons for them to ask you this. In case you don't have anyone outside who's able to contact your job and let them know you can't be there, X, Y, and Z, that's one reason. The other reason is, depending on your job, they will determine whether or not you should have a public defender or if you have to go get your own lawyer, which that is fair, because you can't give somebody who has all kind of money a free lawyer, even though the free lawyers pick and choose who they want to do what for. But that's another subject for another day. But $150,000 bail in this instance, when you're well aware of who he and his family is, like what was that?
That ain't shit.
Exactly. And then he's out the same fucking day.
So they probably would have paid it regardless, though. I don't know what his dad does.
I don't doubt that. But at the same time, like I said, there's different forms of bail. And then $150,000, like, let's be real, there are guys in there for lesser crimes who's getting that kind of bail. You know what I'm saying? $150,000 isn't nothing to sneeze at. But when somebody has some bread, what is that?
Bleed them.
Yeah. Unless you're gonna sit there and say, yo, you know what? I'm gonna do the yard like we do some of these other guys. You're gonna have to put some land and some property up too. Because what happens is, if that person jumps the bail, you lose the money and the property.
Mm-hmm.
So and there are guys who's had family members who had money before who broke out. They flee the country or some shit. And
that one kid.
so what does that do to the 150,000 though? You think they care when that family has that like nothing?
So you said, did you say you do or don't like when they look at the family's like job and like income and stuff like that?
No, I don't have a problem when they do that. I like when it comes to you determining whether or not the city, the taxpayer, or whoever you want to put it to, or sometimes these lawyers do it pro bono, which means for free. They doing it for the recognition or as a favor, depending. When your income is talked about in the capacity of having someone to defend you, then I think it's right. But when they don't consider certain incomes when it comes to bails for certain cases, that's wrong. Because again, you have guys with ridiculous bails for crimes that ain't even that serious. But if you got some money for whatever reason, your bail isn't as retarded as everybody else's bail. So again, it's I don't even want to say a racist thing. To me, it's classism again.
A lot of shit.
You know what I'm saying?
But in this case, it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let me see.
So what are the big issues that we're touching on with
So the big issues are, number one, this particular judge, he goes to the same, well, he's an alumni of the same college as this kid, Stanford. Now, if you know anything about these people, especially Ivy schools, but I'm gonna say, to be fair, let's just say colleges in general, right? You have a lot of what they call alumni who always come back if they're successful with stuff and try to be a part of the school. They donate money. Most of that shit is tax write-offs, but they donate money to the schools, things like this, right? So some of them are also sorority sisters or fraternity, right? I was about to say paternity. Fraternity.
You know you struggle with certain letters together.
Yeah. They're frat brothers and stuff. So to them it's a brotherhood. They'll do whatever to take care of each other.
Yeah.
So
I think he was an athlete too.
no, but yeah, that's when, he was. The judge.
They said he was.
No, not the judge. The guy who was convicted, Brock Turner, was a swimmer.
Yeah.
The judge was a lacrosse player.
That's worse.
Hold on a second, I got it for you right here. Yeah.
But I don't understand. They take such a careful process to pick the jury. What about the judge? That's a conflict of interest.
Now, here's the thing. You can have an issue with the judge, and you can say, I don't want this judge. But here's the two things that has to happen. Number one, it depends what county and state you're in. It depends the amount of judges they have. It depends what kind of court you are in. If you're in civil court, which is about suing people, whether you're in criminal court, whether you're in Supreme Court, family court, all these things factor in, right? It also depends. It also depends on whether or not the agreement was already made. Like sometimes you have, depending on the situation, you have a judge there who looks at both sides and say, "Are you cool with me being the judge? Are you cool? Everybody's cool. All right, I'm the judge. Now you can't change me." And some of them, it all depends on what their history is. You can say, "All right, I don't feel like this judge is being fair," but you're gonna have to prove that he isn't. Now you can. The only times that you mostly are allowed to get a separate judge for the majority of the time is one or two things. If the judge has a health issue, whatever the case, or if it's a conflict of interest, somebody's there related, or things like this. You can also get another judge, and sometimes you end up with the same judge, though. It's hard when you're on appeal. Now, an appeal is when you get convicted or anything like that. Now, if you feel they missed something, you have to prove that the state, the judge, prosecutors have missed a piece of evidence or didn't take into consideration a witness or something of this nature. You have to show that there is a good amount of change in the circumstances in order for you to get an appeal. It's extremely hard to get appeals for serious crimes. I'll just say it like that. So in those cases, you can get a different judge.
But I just don't understand how that happens. That
I don't get it either.
There's definitely people pulling strings.
I really don't get it, even
Especially
more so.
I can't imagine there's any way that her side agreed to that. If it goes down the way you're saying.
It will also depend on whether or not that her most of the time that's a district attorney who deals with the let's just say the prosecutor, but district attorney's office is what deals with the prosecution, right? A lot of times, a lot of them have been dealing with that particular judge and or court for so long. There's some sort of you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for them, it's okay. I would rather see you in front of this judge because I'm constantly in front of him. Then again, it depends on your county you're in, because you have some like
sure
suburban
there's only
areas
so
that
many
don't have.
judges there.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But how convenient does it happen?
No, this is super convenient. And then, like I was saying, he was a lacrosse player, right? So, matter of fact, let me just run down a few things about this judge. We're taking a break in the podcast to bring you guys a clip of a song entitled What We Do off the compilation album just released by the Third Siders, which is available on datpiff.com/Third Siders. The name again of the project is called The Compilation, and the track is called What We Do. Check it out.
They see the footprints. It's even scarier when you hear them.
Chill is what we do. I'm chillin' with the crew, Third Side in the building, man. Tell me what you gonna do. Not about that. No, you not about that life. No. Chill is what we do. I'm chillin' with the crew, Third Side's in the building, man. Tell me what you gonna do. Not about that. No, you not about that life. No.
Seen a lot, this fuck shit got me losing love. So I grind and get money and abuse the plug. Niggas snakes on the low, don't know who to trust. My niggas move the drugs, you niggas use the stuff. Big difference, grinding is big business. Never like them, my friend, we live different. Wild with a wife with a life of big pimpin'. Skinny nigga, yeah, but remain to get chicken. You not about that, I can see it from jump. Shooters licking they chops and got a reason to dump. Dudes telling, hope the guilt stay eating them up. Have your dude on tubes, how he eating his lunch. Man up or man down, nigga. Red dots on the nose of you clown niggas. Stupid niggas talk next, we bout now, nigga. That's crying for you niggas, not a sound, nigga.
Chill is what we do. I'm chillin' with the crew, Third Side in the building, man. Tell me what you gonna do. Not about that. No, you not about that life.
Alright, that was What We Do. So listen to that in its entirety. Check out datpiff.com/Third Siders to check out the compilation. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Now back to the podcast. So the judge's name is Michael Aaron Persky, or Persky, however you put it. He's an American judge on the Superior Court of California and the County of Santa Clara. Prior to joining the bench, he practiced civil litigation for 5 years and was a prosecutor in Santa Clara County. All right, so again, the civil litigation, that's corporate stuff. Sometimes it's just people getting sued, business deals, stuff like that, or sometimes as simple as you not getting along with your spouse and she owes you some money and some shit like that. Like, you know, it can be that if wrongful terminations, things like this. If you suing for somebody for some money, it's a civil situation. Persky's a graduate of Stanford University from '84, and in '85 he was on the men's lacrosse team as the captain himself. He also in '85 got a master's degree from there. Then he went on in '90 to graduate from the School of Law at Berkeley, and he was admitted to the bar, which is, you know, he was able to practice law. If anybody isn't aware what that means. And yeah, he was the captain of the lacrosse team for all of that. He was involved in a civil lawsuit. He presided over a civil lawsuit that had to do with a college by the name of Deanza. I've never heard of this college. They had a baseball team back in 2011 that was accused of gang raping a young girl. He was looking over that case, but that case was not a criminal case. That was a civil case. So whoever was involved, either they didn't have enough to prosecute in the criminal way, or the family or the victim decided they didn't want to go through that and just going straight for the civil situation. Now the funny thing about that, and the reason why I highlighted that point about him being involved with that civil case, is he decided that the jury should be allowed to see 6 photos of the plaintiff. Plaintiff being the person who's suing, plaintiff being the parties of the female who was the victim in that sexual act. So he allowed the jury to see 7 pictures of the plaintiff taken at a party she attended approximately a year after the alleged gang rape. He's allowing them to look at, mind you, you know what, because I don't want to lose this thought, but I just want to throw this out there. A lot of times too, these families who have a little bit of money and have something to do with these schools, or some of them who even have businesses and all this, they donate to some of these judges' campaigns when these judges are out trying to get deep into politics and stuff like that. So I want y'all to keep that in mind, because that's a big thing that plays into a lot of this shit. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, that's the same thing as the pictures they use for a lot of people though in the news.
Yeah.
Like mugshots or
true. But when you do that in the court of law and you're showing pictures of her a year after, we're not talking about 7 pictures that has something to do with the case.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that just clearly slips through the cracks.
You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with the case. This is a year after the situation happened.
Because it's
so I don't
blatantly wrong when you.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck if you got pictures of her and she got a mini skirt and she's sitting on another dude's lap drinking a fucking 40. I don't care. That ain't got nothing to do with what actually took place in that situation. So how is it you allowed that? And then her lawyer had a lot to say about the shit and they disregarded that.
So,
and he said, Paul, I don't mean to cut you off, but he said the reason why he allowed that is because them pictures contradict the plaintiff's claims. How? It's from a year. It's a year apart. What the fuck did that got to do with that?
I don't know.
So basically, we're saying that there's a lot of shit wrong with this whole thing from the beginning, from the dude Brock to the judge to just a lot of shit. Like there's a lot of things, so many wrong.
But it seems like
so
if you're
much.
bringing up that other case, that it happens pretty frequently. It's just that this came to light because of her thing that she wrote.
Well, when it came to the sentencing, this is what happened. In 2016, he was convicted of the 3 felony counts of sexual assault. So Brock Turner was found guilty of 3, and we're talking about a trial here. We're not talking about he didn't cop out and take a deal, which happens a lot with guys. They take a deal because if you blow trial, oftentimes you see way bigger numbers. Often, not all the time.
It seemed that wasn't her goal though. The money she wanted.
No, she hasn't sued him. No. This is.
But that's what I'm talking
these
about.
are 2 separate
They wanted
cases.
to take a deal though.
No. But that don't have nothing to do with her.
Oh.
Because this is criminal court. So it's like this is the way it works. Before you go to trial, you have a series of offers, right? So your lawyer will sit there with the prosecutor. Most of the time now via email and phone calls and shit. They'll discuss more or less what they have. A lot of times the prosecutor don't really want to tell you exactly what he has, right? Because he don't have to really tell you shit until you go to trial.
Basically, your offers.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how it goes. So if the maximum is a 20 year, they might just tell you, yo, man, we'll settle out right now for 15, and we'll drop certain charges. Because you can get, I've seen guys get concurrent. Concurrent meaning if you have multiple charges and they sentence you to concurrent terms, that means if they give you 15 years for 4 different counts, you're just doing the 15 years straight. You know what I'm saying? Consecutive is different. For those who don't understand what that means, is if you get sentenced, if you have them 3 charges and I give you 15 years for each, then in total you would have to do 45 years, right? And that don't have nothing to do with good time or possibly a parole or anything like that. So those are the difference for those who aren't sure what it is I'm talking about. So in this situation, clearly they wanted a speedy trial. For whatever reason, they knew something everybody else don't know. These sort of cases, especially when it comes to sexual crimes, it's rare to hear that a trial took place in a year. Most people, again, it's a lot of times it's in your favor, especially if there's witnesses. Especially if there's witnesses involved. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this shit on here because somebody about to do something stupid and taking my fucking advice. But yeah, sometimes prolonging when you have witnesses is a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So in these situations,
does it change their tune or or something, or they don't.
Yes,
participate?
sometimes the shit they don't remember,
It
certain
will go away.
details they don't.
Details,
Now,
they contradict themselves.
yeah, and what happens a lot of time with these prosecutors though is when they have particular witnesses, a lot of times this is what they do. All these paperwork I have here, they have all this shit, and what they'll do from time to time is come and refresh your memory because they don't want you fucking up their case.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it all depends, which again I find fishy because now you have a situation where somebody's getting a trial within a year in California of all places. In California of all places, this dude got a trial in a year that had 2 witnesses who not only saw what happened, literally took you off of her and then chased you down afterwards. After checking to see if she's okay, they chased her.
That's why I'm saying that I feel like there's so many things that are wrong with this. Something don't add up.
But what do you see wrong? Hey, tell me
what do I see
that's
wrong?
what I want from both of y'all. Tell me the shit that you.
All right,
how do you feel about it? What do you see wrong?
Okay, so if I was in the same exact scenario and I'm the guy that runs up on somebody, it just feels like if I come up and I see that and I am telling somebody else exactly what I saw and what happened, and it still doesn't go the way that any other trial and all happens.
But it's not.
Something's not right.
Yeah,
Something is
yeah,
not
but
right here. It's
hold
got to be.
on.
It's got to be
Hold
deeper
on.
than that. There
But
has to be
this
some
isn't-
money involved.
Yeah, but
it has
AJ,
to be. It's a lot
and,
of
and
other
you have
shit,
a point, but what we can't forget, this don't got nothing to do with that. He was convicted, so this ain't got nothing. You're right, but this ain't got to do with
It
that.
has to do with the sentence. you're saying.
Exactly, he got convicted of the crime,
But he got
the
dropped.
rape. Yeah, they dropped the 2 rape things
because
the 2
of,
rape
because
charges.
of what?
Because they're saying he put his hands in her and he didn't penetrate her. That's what they're saying.
But how do they? But all right. So my question is, how then do they know that it was his hands? How do they know that it was anything then? That's what I'm saying. This,
It would have
this
to
shit
do.
is not adding up.
It would have to do with the test they do afterwards. It would have to do with what the witnesses are saying they saw, because the witnesses are saying that they saw him up on her, on top of her, and pretty much it was the hand. They wasn't sure what else they saw as far if it was him
And then
And
penetrating.
she was blacked out. She couldn't.
She was unconscious.
Okay.
just
And then my
wants him-
question is, who are these 2 people in relation to him?
No, none.
They were like
They're none.
Swedish. They're
Yeah,
they're
they're like
grad students.
exchange. Or
They
some
just went
shit
past
like
and it looked really messed up. But
Yeah, they just saw what was going on. They was on their bikes. They saw what was going on. Thought it was kind of weird that people were behind the dumpster. They went. They said she looked completely out of it, and he was doing what he was doing.
Well-
they pulled him off of her. He took off running. She was trying to check her to see if she was alright, but she was unconscious. And then they chased him. They chased him down. They grabbed him, held him for the police. So this don't got nothing to do with that. You know, honestly, it might not be a popular thing to say, but I'm gonna be honest. Like, listen, I would rather the witness say exactly what they saw than for them to lie.
well, yeah.
So if you're gonna say, yo, look, I ain't see him penetrating, you know what I'm saying? Listen, there's no excuse for what he did in general, but I still don't want you to go and lie. He could have faced up to 14 years in jail. I don't think he should have just got life.
Is that
but
what they were seeking?
no, life wasn't an option.
Yeah, I do think it's likely that that's what happened. Like you think about
14
even in
years.
his-
Excuse me, 14 years was the max he could have got.
But even in his state, like you figure you leave a party, this kind of stuff happens all the time at colleges.
Yeah,
Like,
unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, whether you're in a party, like people aren't thinking, but he probably maybe wouldn't have gone that far. Like even in his state, he wouldn't be like, we should have sex behind the dumpster. Like he not knew better than
Even
that,
though I
but-
have to drag you around.
Yeah, and in that situation, like it would have taken him long enough to get undressed or whatever to do that. But so I don't think that that's wrong, but I do think what actually happened.
Oh no,
He
of course,
wasn't-
no. This
yeah.
there's not a debate on that.
No.
Like, yeah, we're not debating that. We're debating the actual sentence. So, bottom line, this is what it is. He got sentenced to just 6 months, and then a 3-year probation, and he has to register as a sex offender. Right? That ain't shit. That ain't shit. And the part that really got me even more upset about the whole situation. You're sitting here giving this dude 6 months in jail and he's out in 3. So he did 50% of his time. In most states, you have to do 75 to 80% of your time is mandatory. They give you that little extra time as good time, which gets taken away from you depending on how you act while you're in jail. A lot of times, too, you have to do, depending on the state, 80% of your time for you're eligible for parole. Some places it's 70% of the time for you eligible for parole. In his case, he's not even getting parole. He's getting probation. Which, for those who don't know, parole is a lot more serious than probation. This dude should not be getting no probation. Back in 95, for drug cases, I had a 6-month sentence, 6-month program sentence, a 3-month in jail sentence, and a 5 years probation. That's when I got as a teenager for a little bit of drugs. Dude is out here sexually assaulting chicks, and you get a really suspended sentence. What the fuck is that? How many guys right now in California got a 3-strike rule. How many guys are in there doing major time and some of them life for petty fucking crimes, and this dude got, 3 felonies in 1 shot? How does that happen? I don't get it that he gets a 6-month. What the fuck is that? What are you doing with that? Like, I just try to find every way, right? But then the judge comes out and says he doesn't want to ruin the young man's life.
I think it's pretty unsurprising. I don't think it's right, but that kid, that judge, it's pretty horrific. But from their perspective, she wrote that letter about what happened to her, the exact details, what it emotionally did to her, whether what you guys were saying, it was like penetration or rape or sexual assault, and how it made her feel. And she's depressed. She's, it's life-ruining for her. And that's what you usually gauge when you're giving someone a sentence. And then his dad responded and said, he's getting all this for 20 minutes of action. He said, my son's so sad he can't eat steak anymore. That's what his father released that statement. So that's what they're thinking. They're like, oh, well, they think what he got is probably worse. They think it's bad enough. That's their perspective.
All right,
which is insane.
I'm glad you brought up something specific, because my thing is that all right, just hear me out before y'all say anything, so I can just be clear, okay? Now, alcohol abuse is a thing. Whether you're drinking too much and you drive, or you drink too much and you fall down in somebody's house and then you want to sue them, whatever the case may be, if you drink too much, you should take responsibility for your fuck up. Now, after that,
agreed.
After that, it's just like, all right, you did it, and then you should learn your lesson. I'm not saying rape is cool. I'm not saying taking advantage of anybody is cool when you know they're drunk. But you should not get yourself to that state to start off. That explanation right there that his dad said, like, oh, he's getting this much just for that much action, that's a fucked up perspective that they have.
Yo,
you can get that action on somebody sober. The amount that you paid for that bail so quick, you can go out and buy him a prostitute. And then you don't have to worry about that statement. But you're taking advantage, and you know then that you're taking advantage of somebody? Now that's fucked up.
That kid's never been denied a thing in his life. That's their perspective of it. They think that he got worse than he ever deserved.
Yeah, well, let me read the...
it's the definition of privilege.
What it says here is... so the judge...
He's entitled. He thinks he's entitled. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I just changed my mind. I just said, 20 years old and all of that. And, he deserved the 14... which was the max allowed in this case. He deserved the 14, but even if they could have gave him life, I don't think they should have. But I just changed my mind with that. Should have gave him life. Should have gave her the opportunity to go in there monthly with a baseball bat to the nuts.
So you know what it is? It's people not realizing, like, we're all fucking people. Just because you got a little bit more money, or you went to this school, you held this title, that doesn't make you any fucking better than me. That's what it comes down to, I feel. Okay, you went to this school. She went to that school or not. This is a fucking person.
I agree.
And then you're like, oh, I should be able to get this because I'm here. No, you don't, like, you don't just, fuck that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had, like, fully raped her and there was, like, video footage of it that he would have been convicted. He wouldn't be.
Unfortunately, I would have to say it probably would have
went
that way.
They still believe that. That father still believes that his son, kids will be kids, they'll have a drink.
No, yeah, that ain't got... Listen,
he
man,
might do this.
His father right now deserves to go in jail with him.
His father is why that kid is who he is.
And you know what? Like, I don't know if you two have been around the, like, fraternity, sorority life. I'm not in a fraternity.
I was in one briefly.
I don't know the
sorority.
full details, but I know that they give them missions to do. It'll be like, oh, you know this girl, she gonna fuck everybody, or you know, get a girl drunk. I'm walking in the fucking frat house, they got every girl's bra just up on the wall in the whole room.
Yeah, man,
like,
there'll be a lot of broads with it though.
Like,
man.
but no, okay,
There'll be a lot of broads with it.
There'll be a lot with it, but not everybody is. And it's like they might be with it once they start drinking. You're like, oh, give her a couple of drinks, and you know she's with it. Then you're still taking advantage of them. That's not. It's the same shit. So it's like once you're here, then it's like, oh, they know what the deal is. No, it's not always.
Listen,
like that.
I definitely agree with you saying, but I don't want to just rule out the fact that there's a lot of chicks who go there who are with it, who are with the party, and who's with
they
the
need to sign a permission slip.
Well, part of this is
Shit,
that girl
something.
is who she is. Like when you talk about that story, she had a boyfriend. I don't think she usually gets drunk like that, which is part of the reason she got so drunk.
Yeah,
was with her sister.
she
I
said
don't even
it's been a long time since she had drunk, so she
was
said
older.
she drunk. That was the whole thing. I'm gonna, not right at the second, but I'm gonna read a piece of her statement, and I'm only gonna read a piece because I won't even lie. Like I was reading the whole thing and I couldn't get through it. Like I really couldn't. So, but I wanted to point this out. I'm gonna read this little piece I have here, which is talking about, you know, why the sentence was what it was. So the Judge Persky said he considered the factors noted by the probation office. Again, the probation office. He considered the factors noted by the probation office and the severe impact of imprisonment on the defendant's life is a big reason why he sentenced him the way he did.
It's all about that money.
Persky also noted that the news coverage of the case had significantly impacted Turner, saying the media attention that has been given to this case has, in a way, sort of poisoned the lives of the people that have been affected. The question I've asked myself is state prison for this defendant an antidote to that poison? Get him the fuck out of here, B.
Who is it an antidote for? It just happens to be that they value his life higher than most people, when clearly he's scum to begin with.
I have a homeboy right now doing 30 years for a murder he did in self-defense. There was more details. We definitely won't get into that. But bottom line, he's doing 30. I don't remember if it's 30 to life or 30 to 45 for a murder he committed in self-defense. I have other friends who done plenty of time for things, and I'm never gonna sit there and say that none of them, including myself, shouldn't have went to jail. The point I'm just simply trying to make is somebody here is getting 3 months. Because that's what he did, was 3 months. And he's getting some probation because you saying state prison isn't for the defendant. It's not an antidote for that poison. What the fuck are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? How about and I really didn't want to go here, but I'm going to say it. What about the very young Spanish and black kids who come from the ghetto neighborhoods who get in trouble for selling a little weed, some pills maybe, a little bit of coke or something? We're not talking about big numbers. We talking about small numbers. And they're sitting here doing 10 years. I had a homeboy got caught a very small amount of drugs, man, and he ended up getting hit with the RICO law. If you know anything about the RICO law, like this conspiracy, there's so many different things. I think he ended up getting 26 years or something of the sort for that. And a big part of it was because he refused to snitch on other people who he may or may not know what the fuck they actually do or what role they played in the situation. So you mean to tell me at a teenage years you can give these people these sort of numbers, and you got this dude out here getting fucking 3 months though?
We're showing that if you can swim and you go to a good college, then you have privilege.
So at this point, man, I really don't want to. I'm gonna read. I just want everybody to get a little bit of her perspective, because you're hearing our opinions. You're hearing clearly how the fuck this is being handled and the opinions on why it's being handled through the court itself. This fucking judge, the judge and the probation office. Please don't let the probation office of Santa Clara get off the hook either, because he's using their recommendation as an excuse for what he was going to do any fucking way. But let's not excuse that they recommended it. We can't excuse that. And I would like to, I didn't have the time, but I should have looked into who the fuck was responsible for that one. But I'm going to read a piece of the victim's statement. Again, this is a piece because it's definitely hard to deal with. And if you don't want to listen to this, I understand. You can turn this shit off now.
Or you can go to ajdunk.com and listen to my stuff.
Yeah. So, in the beginning, she describes how she hadn't seen her sister in a while, and her sister was going to this party, so she decided to go and tag along with her sister, and the joke was she was going to be the grandma at this party, because she's a little older than them. She specifically was going there with a cardigan. I believe she said it was like a beige, a tan cardigan. And she was making jokes on herself about the shit. So that's how the statement starts. I'm gonna skip a bunch of this and I'll read this part. Now this part is pertaining to when she was behind the dumpster. No, at this point I think she was at the hospital, and she was talking about what happened when she was, how she felt after they took her out the dumpster, because she didn't remember much what happened. She said, "Then I felt pine needles scratching the back of my neck and started pulling them out my hair." Mind you, she's in the hospital at this point. She said, "I thought maybe the pine needles had fallen from a tree onto my head. My brain was talking my gut into not collapsing, because my gut was saying, 'Help me, help me.'" Mind you, she's in the hospital already. "I shuffled from room to room with a blanket wrapped around me, pine needles trailing behind me. I left a little pile in every room I sat in. I was asked to sign papers that said rape victim, and I thought something had to have really happened. My clothes were confiscated. I stood naked while the nurses held a ruler to various abrasions on my body and photographed them. The three of us worked to comb the pine needles out of my hair. 6 hands to fill out 1 paper bag. To calm down, they said it's just the flora and fauna." I don't know what the hell that is.
It's like foliage. Leaves.
Oh, it's leaves. Okay. Yeah, I'm from the projects. I don't think we got flora and fauna. But right.
Maybe 1 or 2.
Said I had multiple swabs inserted into my. She had swabs inserted into her vagina and anus, needles for shots, pills, and had a Nikon pointed right into my spread legs. Yo, get the fuck out of here, B.
This is what I'm.
What they do.
Get the fuck out of here.
But this is what brought me back to my whole thing about these people that are lying about this rape shit. Like, the things that people have to really go through to prove this is ridiculous. On the fact that there's motherfuckers that are just out there lying because they want money or they want something out of it when it didn't really happen.
Wait, so what are you saying?
That's why. All right, so like.
He's saying the people who lie about it are taken away from the victims who actually go through this.
So like, if there's times where like girls will have sex and then they'll take a rape drug after sex. That's so then when they go to get tested.
That's like an outlier. They definitely hurt this situation, but like.
I'm saying like the way to prove it's getting like harder.
He's saying the reason why you have to go through so much to prove it is because so many people lie. Yeah. So the lie is really.
And even if they have proof, like that gangbang thing you were talking about, they go to be like, well, she was a slut. But how much do you think this is because the girl was a white girl in good standing too? You know, they would have painted her otherwise if she hadn't been wearing a beige cardigan and wasn't so well spoken as to write this.
No, you're right on that.
I mean, that's the reason that even if that it had been the way it was and she didn't write that statement, I don't think anyone would care. That's the big thing, is it went viral.
Maybe if she was of different ethnicity, he might have got nothing.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
The last detail that she puts into that is she said, "I had a long pointed beaks inside of me and had my vagina smeared with cold blue paint to check for abrasions. After a few hours of this, they let me shower. I stood there examining my body beneath the steam of water and decided I don't want my body anymore." I don't even want to read the rest of this shit because there's more. Like, that whole shit right now just made me want to fuck this dude up. Like, alright, so now that you guys got a little more of the details and opinions on it, some of the facts, I'm going to just hand it off to AJ and to Isabella to give y'all their overall look on the whole situation. So, AJ, if you're ready, yeah.
Alright, so basically how I feel is Brock is in the wrong, but he's not. I don't think that the way that his dad reacted definitely doesn't help my feelings towards going into his favor. I understand that people get drunk at parties and things like that, and I don't know how they met and all, but the way that Izzy said that his dad's reaction was like he felt entitled that doesn't sit well for me. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the judge that was chosen.
Fuck his
for
father
that.
and the judge too.
I just don't feel like he really learned his lesson from this. He's not the one that is. He's not the victim in this one. It's the female. And then also, I'm not a fan of how people are crying wolf when it comes to rape, because it doesn't help the situation when it comes to it really happening. So that's how I feel about all that.
I would have to say that, if anything, there was so much controversy surrounding this. At the very least, the silver lining is that it raised a lot of discussion nationwide, and especially because the victim really read out her feelings. And I think for a lot of people, especially, not that men don't get raped, but for a lot of men, you see the full-on perspective of what it felt like for her to have that happen to her. And it was fortunate that it got so widely shared and kind of went viral. And she had a lot of people on her side. And this kid, while he didn't get what was coming to him really legally, hopefully in some way this will make a change and these things will become more high profile. And like Jay mentioned, the other case of the girl who was gang raped, things like that won't keep happening and flying under the radar, and shitty judges won't be allowed to keep practicing and getting away with the stuff that they're doing.
I just got one last question to both of y'all, and I'm only gonna ask this based off, what we just said. Mm-hmm. When the fuck is discussion, a conversation, anything like that? When does that just don't matter anymore? Like when do we? And this is across the board when it comes to the racist things we talk about on this podcast. When we talk about this sort of things, whether it's male and female rape or men on men rape or however it go down, molestation, all that other shit. When is just talking just not enough? Like when the fuck does it, like what needs to happen for somebody to say history has said, oh, we need to fucking know? You know what I'm saying? Like what, and either one of y'all mind, like, do you really think it would take something, would it have to be something really drastic for people to say, enough about the conversation about this? Something has to be done.
While you were saying that, I said, I don't know, but what stirred up in my mind, which is, it's kind of sick, but it would have to be like a big group thing. I feel like where a lot of people are witnesses to what is happening, and they can see that it's a big group and there's a lot of people that are taken advantage of, because then a lot of people can speak up to what happened. I hope that's not what it takes, but that's what it's seeming like in this day and age.
Well, I think even in that situation, though, there's so many things, aside from this, police brutality and everything that's caught on camera, there's tons of people there watching it. People are dying while on camera. You see exactly the circumstances and people are still getting away with it. So I'm not sure if that would even be effective, but this case was a little more unique in the fact that the judge was so blatantly biased from the beginning, and it should never have been allowed that this happened. And because you can't deny the fact that Brock Turner was so privileged, and if anything, his dad reinforced that. And I mean, the latest on this was that there's protesters outside his house. Yeah. He's gonna need to move. Woe is him, poor kid. But like, it has attention called to it. I don't really know what can happen. It's gonna, the system is definitely broken in a lot of ways, and so that's what needs to change. I don't know if it's gonna need to be how it's caught or how it's addressed, but it's definitely a tangled thing. And Jay knows that, being a minority and being where he's from, and he's seen that. But I think now this happened in a day and age when there's more people who maybe come from privilege or are more like Brock Turner, who are saying, no, this is wrong. And like we said before, she was a white girl that this happened to, a college student, and it became very high profile. So if anything, it's more people on the side saying that's something's really, really wrong here.
Well, it's crazy, the kind of people you can meet throughout your life, and who knows who. So if there's anybody here listening to this who actually knows anybody who works hands-on with like molestation or rape victims or anything like that, I would like to talk to them. I would like to see if we get somebody up here, because I have some questions and more along the lines of what can we actually do. And I'm not even one of them type of dudes that be out here and protesting and doing any of that stuff, but when it comes to this sort of stuff, it bothers me, and I would take that step, especially when I sit back and see all the laws. Again, I ask everybody, please go back and listen to our we talk about the actual title of the podcast is, did a hip hop icon sexually assault a former politician? So please go back and listen to that, and you'll understand what I'm saying, because there are a lot of laws that have to do with sexual assault offenses or rapes and things like this. The laws are fucked up with these joints, man. These dudes, and again, everybody's I feel everybody's due their the process. Everyone should get the process. It should be fair. You should have to prove that this person is guilty. You know, that's only the right thing to do. But in the event like this one, where the dude is found guilty and all the evidence and everything 100% points towards him, like, these laws gotta fucking change, man. Like, these pity pat, slap on the wrist laws, especially for these privileged dudes, it just gotta change. So if you know anybody who works with these sort of people, or is some sort of activist or anything, anybody out there, please contact me. You can email me at jlegend215gmail.com, and, you know, let me know. I would like to have somebody up here who can maybe give us some answers, might even bring even more awareness to other people, you know.
Please do that. That's so if you're bleeding, you're able to still go swimming and not get bit by the sharks. I would appreciate that.
No. Alright, so AJ, let people know where they can find you.
At ajdunk.com. Everything is from there.
And
ajdunk.com.
Izzy says she don't want to be found unless you got a huge check for her.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not gonna find her.
Couple thousand, nothing like.
But thank you for coming on with us and you know, talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes I ask people to come on here, and this kind of topic ain't for everybody, and I understand. So thank you for coming and giving your opinion. So all the street rules out there, you already know how I feel, man. The 3 things you have to do. 3 things you got to do: provide, protect, and educate. And maybe if you do those 3 things to the best of your ability, something in that area might help prevent this. Maybe our kids would be more aware of anything, or maybe even help someone out the way them 2 dudes did, so that she didn't go through further. She went through enough, though. So
yeah, at the very least, go look out for people.
Yeah.
Do something about it. If you see something, say something.
Street wolves, I love y'all.